So let's talk about a topic that I've been covering for a while now, and that is the shift from physical video games to all digital. Basically, there's no games to buy in stores. The disc, any of that, it's all gone, and we just buy from the different storefronts with Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, and I guess Valve for Steam, although there are several launchers, of course, competing on the PC platform. Steam is basically the default, because over this past week, I would say, things have certainly been accelerating and maybe showing signs that this all-digital future might be here before the end of this current PlayStation and Xbox generation. We're going to talk about some of that here today. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with this video sponsor. Look, you guys know how much I enjoy getting physical copies of video games for the collection, and that's why I'm happy to thank today's sponsor, Premium Edition Games. Right now, Retroware and Premium Edition Games have teamed up to bring two new physical releases, Love 3 and Eagle Island Twist. These limited physical editions are packed with extras such as a full color manual, challenge card, high quality slipcase, and a bonus for pre-orders, an awesome looking dog tag. You can take things to the next level with the Retro Edition that adds in an NES inspired box, jewel case CD with the official soundtrack, and a high quality mini history art booklet. If you want to go all out, there's even a mega pack edition with every item mentioned, as well as an Eagle Island Koji plush. Pre-orders end November 7th, so head on over to premiumeditiongames.com or click the link in the description below. Thanks again to Premium Edition Games for sponsoring today's video. So first, let's start with something that I'm sure caught everyone's attention, and that has to do with Activision having just a very strange release with Call of Duty. 70 megabytes. Yeah, if you buy the disc and you pop it into your PlayStation, it will install, and that'll kind of be it. Also, it appears to be on an Ultra HD Blu-ray, at least that's according to the back of the box, so seems like a massive waste, doesn't it? Those discs can hold up to, 100 gigabytes in data, and instead they just put 70 on there. Very, very odd, isn't it? And, I mean, I guess technically the disc is better than just having a one-time used code, since you can pass the disc around and you can sell it. Basically, when you pop the disc in, authentication key, and the rest then gets pulled from the server. Call of Duty is a big game. It's hundreds of gigabytes by the time this iteration, I'm sure, cycles through and we get to the next one. But the campaign does not exceed 100 gigabytes to my knowledge, so they could have put the campaign on there and left it up to the multiplayer. If you're doing multiplayer, you're probably downloading from the internet anyway. You're going to be playing online. So that, to me, that makes sense. But this almost feels like Activision with one foot out the door when it comes to having to ship a physical copy of Call of Duty down the road. Maybe in the next couple of years, who knows? But it certainly raised some eyebrows. And then something else got out there. This was in a report for EA. A lot of people sent me this, and I was going to be talking about this at some point, but we did have some clarification on this. Anyway, we can see Electronic Arts GmbH, located in Germany, has announced it will no longer sell physical copies of its games across the supply area in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Scandinavia. Games like FIFA and Battlefield can only be bought digitally. So EA cites the ongoing shift from physical goods to digital downloads continues to have a negative impact on sales development. An economic restructuring was initiated and will no longer generate any sales with packaged goods. However, it appears they have clarified. We can see Andy Robinson here, who says reports during the rounds that EA is planning to stop selling physical games in Germany. A spokesperson told me that this is not true. We have not stopped physical distribution of our games in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland. Players will continue to be able to buy our games from retailers across the region. Recent reports stating otherwise are an inaccurate reflection of disclosures made in EA Germany statutory financial statements. I mean, for now, obviously, you can go and buy, I guess, the new FIFA or Madden or any of that, right? Anything EA is putting out. But I wouldn't be shocked if in the next 2 years, maybe, that's not the case in certain regions. We're seeing more and more of a shift towards physical copies just not selling and it all basically being digital. Capcom, for example, recently shared their financial reports, as many companies are doing now with the turn of the quarter. And Capcom, 91.5% of gamers choosing to purchase products digitally. 8.5% in terms of physical sales. Now, I will point out that part of that has to do with the Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak DLC, and that obviously just being digitally sold, and that's skewing their overall revenue numbers. But we've even seen Sony tell us that it's basically 1 in 5 for their revenue when it comes to physical versus digital. And many other companies like EA, Ubisoft are reporting the same thing. I mean, now we're hearing rumors that Sony would be producing a PlayStation 5 redesign that would feature a detachable disc drive, making the entire thing purely optional. Then the core system would be the default, that being one without a disc drive or one without the ability to play physical games. Again, not surprising to me to see this, considering everyone, for the most part, who's making games, developers, publishers, they want physical copies to go away because to them, it's unnecessary and it's costing them money. I mean, we saw Ubisoft go over this with investors that they get 70% of digital sales, whereas for physical copies, because you then have to take into account after the royalties that go to the platform holder, the cost to distribute these games, which includes packaging, shipping, even loss, because you will lose games in the process, whether it's through shipping or just, honestly, sometimes retailers want to try to return them. I've tried it myself. Trust me, you order too many of one system and you're stuck with them and you try to figure out what to do. And sometimes, believe it or not, these companies would take them back or they would do some sort of rebate with you at like a wholesale level, but it's not too common. Basically, they would get back 55% for physical sales as opposed to the 70% for digital, and 15% of hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. That's a pretty big number, which is why I think we're living through a generation now where we're seeing a major shift and a major change overall in gaming. It's one that'll be looked back on as when we made the entire jump from physical to digital, and that's it. In fact, I think the PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox, the Series XX or whatever they call it, probably won't have a disc drive. They'll just be all digital. We already have systems that launched at the beginning of this generation with no disc drive. Is the PS5 that was the all digital model, and then the Xbox Series S. And of course, with Microsoft, I think their digital to physical ratio is probably higher than everyone else. I wouldn't be shocked if it was like 95-5. Because they have their Game Pass subscription, obviously, and their Xbox Series S that is selling pretty well for them versus the Series X. To me, it seems like they are continuing to work people towards that digital marketplace, which for platform holders, it makes a lot of sense. They have quite a bit of control there, by the way. Sony doesn't allow any sales of like download codes or anything at retail. If, for example, they get rid of the physical copy of games, you're buying everything from one source, that PlayStation Marketplace, which, by the way, is a reason that if you're on PC, you should want a bunch of marketplaces to pop up continuously going forward, because it does provide competition in the digital space, whereas on consoles, it's all closed off. I do think we'll probably see Sony with their own launcher marketplace pop up, so maybe that'll be some extra competition there. I know it's a whole thing with these free launchers and splitting up libraries and stuff, but trust me, I think it's a bit of a better future than what's possibly going to be happening here for these other platforms. I mean, even Nintendo, I know people look at them as, oh, they have cartridges and they're definitely leaning into just physical copies, but I think right now, if you look across the board, the PlayStation 5 probably has the most games that work off of the physical medium. I mean, with the Switch, there are several cartridges. You don't get the entire game at all on it. You have to download a good chunk. Every time a new NBA game comes out, you're downloading 20 some odd gigabytes just to play it. Whereas with the PlayStation, at least you put the disc in. Sure, there might be a day one update, but for the most part, you can install everything off of the disc and play it locally. That's one of the reasons that 70 megabyte install was such a big deal for Call of Duty, because that's not normal. Although what's interesting about this is a lot of people thought it was almost like they've already been convinced that that physical disc is worthless as it is. Also, a lot of people keep saying like, oh, I'm going to stop playing games when it goes all digital. I don't actually believe that. I think most people will fold for a franchise or a series or something that have like a new big Zelda game comes out, a new God of War, something new for Halo, or the new Fable or Perfect Dark or what have you. A big franchise releases, you're probably just going to buy it on the eShop, the PlayStation Store, or the Xbox Store. And that'll be that. So I do believe eventually it'll be a thing and we'll be used to just all digital games. I guess technically it'd be better for the environment too, so that's a positive. But yeah, unfortunately, old heads like me will be kind of annoyed, but I think we'll learn to live with it and adapt. I've been preparing for this for a long time now, so none of this is too surprising for me. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below. Do you think we may even, I don't know, get there in the next couple of years before this generation ends? Could we see publishers like EA, Ubisoft, or Activision just stop shipping games completely to make that transition a bit easier for the platform holders when it's time for the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Series XL? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.